All right, so in this video, I'm going to go over the most powerful way to negotiate when you're dealing with acquisitions. That's residential or development. So we're going to get right into this. Definitely you want to make sure that you got at least a pen, crayon, whatever you got. Make sure that you're writing something down because this is going to be juicy. Literally, I have closed over $2 million worth of profit, $40 million worth of sale as a one-man show. And I kind of want to just break this down for you because I think a lot of investors and a lot of developers are missing the boat when it comes down to negotiations, especially face-to-face. So here we go, right into it. The first thing is you want to think about, number one, what is the seller's goal? That's the first thing I always start with. Other than do they truly want to sell? Like there's an entire process when it comes down to the acquisition process that really matters. And we're going to definitely jump into that. So I kind of want to show you what I'm talking about here. And I got my mic on my cup here, so we'll go through this. So the first thing is what I mean by that. When you're dealing with the acquisition process, right? What you want to do is, if you're looking close to over here, we're going to cut this off right here. So you kind of start off with an ad, right? So you have an ad that goes through this process, right? This is what our ads kind of look like, right? So you have an ad. Now remember this is the cool part. Whenever you're dealing with residential or commercial, you're still dealing with a human, period. So what I learned was every single human has these patterns, and you kind of only know this if you have a lot of reps in, and I've got over 100 in. And what I recognized was the patterns. So when you're negotiating on the acquisition process, it's coming from the lead, then you're actually having the conversation through a lead sheet that you have scripted out, but it's not scripted like you have to say word by word. It's questions, right? And these are the most powerful questions, and I'll get into the negotiations aspect of it as well. So the most powerful questions that you can actually ask whenever you're going through this process with sellers, and again, these are actual real sellers that I've really had conversations with. Yes, that's actually me there, right? And I use that in our advertisement as well. So the main thing that I'm going to ask whenever I have them on the phone or wherever I'm having a conversation, main thing that you want to ask is, number one, tell me about the property, right? Just kind of go over it. You're just talking from like a friend to a friend, right? That's the first thing. Then the second thing that you want to kind of go by as well is you just want to have a conversation dealing with saying, okay, so look, sounds like a great property, why do you want to sell? Then you're going through that process as well. Now remember this, the key why this is super important. This is the setup for you going to the property. The main reason why is the entire acquisition process has to be in this kind of stepping order, right? And I'm going to actually show you this as well, what I mean by that, right? So let's actually see this right here. So it goes from a lead, right? So we see the lead. Now it goes from a lead form, right? They fill out a lead form that goes through the ad process, and then they automatically get triggered into a campaign, right? But then you're going to have to actually go through this lead sheet with them. This is before you actually having the actual appointment to see the property. So it kind of looks like this on a big frame, and hopefully this actually doesn't look horrible, right? So we're going to do our best here. So you pretty much have what they call a lead, right? So you've got a lead, then you've got first contact, right? Then you got pre-appointment. Then I have what I call the 40 hours for the contract review, right? So, but on the pre-appointment, you are going through this entire process of saying, okay, after I had a first contact, they really want to sell their property. Now, the key thing too is when they really want to sell their property, and you could write this down as well, this is kind of the insight, is you want to make sure they're ready to sign an agreement right now. If they are not ready to sign an agreement right now, do not go to the appointment. Do not view the property at all. There's a ton of different properties out there that are really good deals. But at the end of the day, if they are not ready to sign, they're not ready to sign. Because there still is, in a sense of, there are land deals out there because you still have a lot of companies still purchasing properties. And people that typically have a property, they may have one piece of land or one house on 9 acres or one house on 20 acres or one house on 30 acres. You don't know, so don't poo-poo anything. right? So when you're having the conversation, going from lead form to the acquisition process of having this conversation with your seller, then what you want to do is then you're double checking and make sure they're really ready to sign. So what my go-to is typically is just asking them and letting them know, say, hey, I just want to double check. So you want to sell your property? Yes. Great. What's the selling price? They tell you whatever the selling price is. Okay, so I just want to be clear with you. So you want to sell your property for, $200 something thousand, whatever that looks like. So from $200,000 or 230 or 300,000, whatever that number is, I just want to be clear with you. So if I bring a contract with me today, you are ready to sign an agreement. If we both agree on that number, you're ready to sign. If they say yes, fantastic, set it up. Now you're going through the next step in the acquisition. But before that time frame of like here to here, what you're doing is now you're setting up saying, okay, I got to make sure this is a deal, right? So now you're going through, you're doing the administrative side of it, right? You're keeping all your files organized. Because as you scale, organization is key. If you can't do everything as perfect as possible, you'll never scale up to the next level. You just won't. It doesn't work that way, right? So it's kind of like, for me, I played baseball most of my life, right? So I can't go from T-ball to playing high school varsity, right? It's not going to work. So I have to go through every single step, period. I got to go from T-ball to Little League, stay in Little League for a while. Then I go up, to whatever your organization has. I had Babe the Ruth League for a while. Then we had seniors, and then we had Babe the Ruth League. Then from Babe the Ruth League, you typically played travel ball or AAU. AAU actually meant something back then. Travel ball was a little bit different. It was more like AAU. And then you actually can, try out for the varsity team. The varsity team back then was like the pinnacle, right? It wasn't travel ball because we didn't really have it. You had to earn it back in the day. You had to actually go through AAU, try out, and that was the only travel ball that there was in that area at that time. I say that is because if I correlate it back and I relate it back to real estate, it's typically the exact same thing. So if you've never had conversations with people, okay, let's go back to this real quick and I'll move forward. So if you've never had conversations with sellers, I recommend do three things, right? So one, go to garage sales and just ask people, hey, I see that you're having a garage sale, buy something from it, $5, whatever. Hey, have you ever considered selling your property? That's the first thing. Second thing is look at for rent signs. Hey, I see that you have a property for rent. Have you ever considered selling? That's the second place. These are two freebies. But you have to get good at having conversations, because the reason why you want to get great at having conversations is because you're going to negotiate, period. Let me get my notes real quick. So you're going to have to actually negotiate with people. And on these huge deals, if you ever want to level up to commercial deals, guess what? You have to talk to people. You have to have conversations. Like, you have to go through that process, period. There is no other way around it. And so with that, you have to get reps in. I wasn't great. Like right now, I'm negotiating with $3 billion companies on a piece of land that I have, right? Technically almost 4 right now. And so I'm the sole person negotiating. I'm negotiating with them, right? I've got my team and everything else, but I'm negotiating. So with that being said, the only reason I'm doing it is because I've got so many reps in from residential. See, when you convert over to the commercial world, you may only get like 2 to 3 reps a year of great negotiations, right? Just because the payoffs are totally different, right? They're completely different. On residential, you may get, if you get lucky, if you really go for it. Like the most I ever did in one calendar year was 60 transactions. That doesn't mean talking to, because some of the transactions fell apart, right? But closed transactions was 60 in one calendar year, right? I'm literally going over the acquisition process right now with you. And so when you're going through this process, let me bring it all the way back, right? Lead form, lead sheet. Now you're doing the pre-work. There's a formula to this, right? And then after that, now you're actually saying, hey, if you're ready to sign, right? I'm coming over with an agreement. If you're not ready to sign, I'm not going. And that's key, just because you don't want to waste your time, period. Now the other catch right after that, now you're seeing the property, you're negotiating. So now consider we're at the negotiation table, me and you, right? We're having this conversation. We're like, hey, how you doing? No, it's not like that. I'm just kidding. All right. So what happens is you're having this conversation, and the way that I typically do it is there's a flow to this acquisition process, right? And the flow, the way it happens is the next part of this is number one, you got to make sure that you have all your paperwork ready, right? Because they're signing right then. So there's what I call a seller's packet that I've been using nonstop. And again, I use this for residential and I use this for commercial. It does not change. And I thought it would change. Like if I'm doing commercial deals, like shouldn't it change? And it doesn't. It's literally the exact same. It's actually easier on commercial just because it's just a number game. There's no emotion at all when you deal with commercial. It's just like, this is what it is and that's it, right? Let me get some water real quick. I just recently graduated the Civilian Police Academy, so they gave me this. It's super cool. Highly recommend if you're in your local town and market, whatever you're at, check out if they have a Civilian Police Academy. Mine was like 14 weeks long. It's just cool. It's just cool to have if you could do it. All right, let's go back. So, now going into my cheat sheet. When I'm negotiating, first thing is you got to look at every single seller as somebody that you really love. I do my best to really go through the process of this is somebody I really love and I appreciate, and I'm going to do my best to make sure everything is as perfect as possible, right? And so I ask them, hey, what's the goal here? What are we shooting for? And it could be, typically it's going to be, we got to make as much money as possible. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, hey, how much cash do you need right now? What does that look like? This is when you're starting the conversation, right? Then you're going from now, okay, hey, what's the goal, to what's the facts of the deal? What's the mortgage? How much cash do you need right now? When do you need to move? What does that look like? Are you behind on your mortgage? Does the property need any work? You're just going through blah, 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 everything because you've got to get the facts. If you don't have the facts, it's not going to work. Then you've got your fast, slow, creative solution. So fast is typically like cash right now. What does that look like? Slow is like possibly you're going to list it. You can actually just do the listing with the listing partner that you have. Again, what matters is you create the win-win with the seller, because that's how you're going to get 20% of the time that seller is going to either tell you about another property that you didn't even know about, or they have a major development that you're going to make more profit on that you ever thought in your whole life. That's literally what has happened to me, okay? And I've done this countless of times, so I'm just saying this is not like theoretical. This is factual, okay? You get enough reps in, it's going to happen. And so you got fast, slow, or creative. Creative is exactly that. I'm on my cheat sheet, and I have templates of these contracts with me as well. So creative is just like, all right, the mortgage is X, you need $20,000 right now, or $40,000, or we're gonna have to work out a short sale, whatever that looks like. All right, so we're gonna, which out of these three options, which you're writing down, and there's more to it, but I'm just giving you an overview. Which one are you leaning towards, right? They pick one. Wherever they pick, boom, immediately, all right, so can I get your driver's license, take a picture of it, let me get the seller's packet, let me go over it with you. You're pulling out your template of a contract. Now, if you don't believe me, I literally have, if you go to my YouTube channel, I literally have live seller transactions. Like these are live. These are not edited. These are not nothing. These are real discussions with sellers that I have. They're anywhere from an hour to 2 hours long plus, but these are the real conversations. So you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You'll see the whole transition. Like this is, I don't know how much more gold I can give you, right? But I highly recommend check out my YouTube channel. Go to Franklin Cruz. I think it's like the handle's Franklin Cruz something, whatever. But you can find it. I know you're smart. But the biggest thing is when you go through this is you want to, in your head, you're like, all I want to do is help these people. That's it. And I promise you, no matter what, you're going to profit hugely. That's not going to be the issue. It's just going through the system on the acquisition process and making it smooth, because then you could do it over and over and over again. Is this making sense? Hopefully this is. Like, tell me yes or whatever if it is. And so anyway, so hopefully you're getting a lot out of this. So in the beginning, I completely struggled with this. So I just want to let you know, like, I didn't know what I was doing. This took years of me really fine tuning this process to kind of perfect it. And then right when I started perfecting it, for some reason, I was allowed to start getting in the commercial world. And that gave me a huge breakthrough. So hopefully this helps. This is kind of the framework that I use when it deals with the acquisition process. There's way more to this, but I kind of want to just give an overview. So at the very end of this as well, so if you're interested in saying, man, Frank, I want to learn your entire process and do everything. If you're already spending money on ads, fantastic. Then me and my team, we could help. Because you have to be able to put money where your mouth is when it comes down to to transition from ads to understanding the acquisition process and go forward. So if you're spending money on ads or you're ready to, go to my website, trueinvestors.com. You can check out all the case studies as well. Fill out the application. If we're a good fit, great, we are. If we're not, all good. Hopefully you're getting something out of this. All I want is for you to increase where you're at, because to me, the future is all about what you create, what value you create in the world. That's how you're going to get paid back. It's not being a worker. It's not being, somebody else's employee per se, unless you have growth equity and you're learning a lot. Remember, it's all about value add, and not just value add for people, but what skill sets are you learning? So to me, I've learned a lot of skill sets, and now I'm just ready to share it as much as I possibly can. So hopefully you're learning something from this. All right. I think that's about it. Am I missing anything? No. Yeah, you can go to trueinvestors.com. Check it out. Bye.